You're listening to the Tom Hartman Program.
Welcome back. This is the Tom Hartman Program, 6 minutes after the top of the hour. Filling in for Tom today, all afternoon. I'm Carl Frisch, Democratic strategist, syndicated columnist. You can find more about me at carlfrisch.com. Sign up for emails. Join me on Facebook and Twitter. We've heard a lot about Bain and Mitt Romney over the last several months. But what we haven't done much of, beyond talking about the jobs that Romney has ended or shifted overseas through Bain, is delve into what these companies that they've invested in, that they've purchased, that they've bought up, do. Some of these companies are not, let's just say, good eggs. Joining us to talk about one such example is Art Levine. He is a contributing editor of the Washington Monthly and a contributor to Salon, The Nation, The Atlantic, and many other publications. And he's got a great piece at Salon, which I encourage you all to check out at salon.com. It's called The Dark Side of a Bain Success. Art, thanks for joining me.
Hi, Carl. Thanks very much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So you tell the story of these adult addiction and teen behavioral problem facilities.
Right. They're two separate wings of a company called CRC Health Group.
And that company is owned by Bain Capital?
Absolutely. It was purchased in 2006 when it was just a drug treatment chain, and it looked like it was entered into by Bain, and this is after Romney had already left the company, but had
he retroactively retired yet?
Well, he could have retroactively retired, but he certainly was a limited. There's no question in all the disputes about when he actually left and what his real function was. He was a limited partner in a fund called Bain Capital 8 with Roman numerals that's based at the Cayman Islands and has lots of wonderful tax breaks available to those who funnel money through it. And so Bain Capital 8 is a $3.5 billion fund that includes Dunkin' Donuts, and it also includes CRC Health Group, which was a promising and fast-growing drug treatment chain that, and this is pretty critical, had no wrongful death charges and no known preventable deaths or allegations facing it.
Until
Bain took it over.
Right, and do me a favor. Your piece is remarkable, and you tell the story very well. Tell the story of Brendan, the 14-year-old Asperger's syndrome patient that died in their custody.
Sure, and before doing so, I need to sort of put in a stipulation, which is kind of dry, which is that CRC has never been found liable or guilty in any civil or criminal court for any wrongdoing of any kind. So, for instance, this story was settled last year in a wrongful death suit, but quietly, no public judgments. So one of the points is, so here's this kid named Brendan Blum. He's 14 years old. He's a troubled, aggressive kid who had Asperger's syndrome, and his mother was desperate, and the kid was violent, and had been arrested a few times for attacking the family. So she's told to go to this fantastic program in Utah called Youth Care of Utah. And and this program at that point, by this point in time, when he was sent there in 2007, CRC had bought a new division called Aspen Education. So it went from being just drug treatment to including troubled teen programs. So this is a troubled teen program, and what happened? So this boy who was, sometimes disruptive in temperament and was kind of disbelieved that he had problems, went on the afternoon of June 27th complaining to the medical staff, feels really upset in the stomach, and things are crawling around, and then ultimately, basically, he wakes up, he's complaining of stomach pain, he defecates his pants, and they don't believe him. They don't think he has anything serious. They just give him water and Pepto-Bismol, and the staff doesn't...
Such a good actor, that kid. He pooped his pants, and he's just putting on a show.
That's right. And so they don't really believe he's that serious. Later, when it's really obvious that he's kind of ill, but they don't know what, the culture of the place was such that they felt they couldn't call 911. And that becomes a hallmark of many other problems that occur throughout the chain. So what happens is They never telephoned the on-call nurse like they were supposed to. They didn't feel they had the right and power and authority as $9.50 an hour, very low-paid workers, to call 911 themselves, and they called the supervisor, and, he doesn't answer the phone. So the next day, the kid is found dead, and they didn't even check on him in the morning.
Well, this is after they move him to what's called the purple room, which is like an isolation room for kids that are acting out.
Yeah, it's also used for other more benign purposes, but basically it was used, in a de facto way to segregate the kid. And then basically they checked in him over the night, and he was howling and in agony, and then he fell asleep for a while, and then they left, their shift at 7 in the morning, and they hadn't checked on him, and he's dead. So what it turns out is he had something known as a twisted bowel or a bowel infarction. It's sort of a twisted bowel that needs emergency surgery to prevent, fatal or very serious outcomes. And they never called any ambulances. And the key thing is, I spoke to an employee who had worked there, and he told me, his name is Josh Randall, he said, they didn't trust our judgment in emergency situations. If you're working for $9.50 an hour on the graveyard shift, you don't want to buck the system. So that's
sick.
Yes, that mindset of, so this issue of lower-level people feeling that they cannot call 911 in emergency situations, that's one cultural element into the culture of the company.
Well, and they get to that point because, and you mentioned that there'd never been anything like this in this company's history before it was acquired by Bain. This is the type of thing that people like these vulture capitalists do, right? It's the equivalent of sending manufacturing jobs overseas. It's stripping down the artifice of control and all the different safeguards in an operation to save money.
Yeah, it's like that, except one of the issues is that CRC, when it was just an adult drug treatment chain, primarily did not have any preventable deaths or scandal in its background. But when Aspen Education, which became a division of CRC, absolutely did have some lawsuits and some preventable deaths in its background when it was acquired by CRC and Bain late in 2006. And I have in the article a family therapist who goes to the medical, named Elizabeth Feldman, goes to the medical director of CRC late in the fall of 2006 while the deal is pending, and she knows about abuses and problem and lays out all sorts of problems in the treatment, the quality of care, and at Youth Care of Utah. This is before Brendan dies, and warns him, please, you have to, don't go through with it. This is problematic. And this medical director just says, well, I'm sure Bain Capital is doing his due diligence. Now, he's denied that he's made those comments, but he admits to meeting her. So they had a warning. The point is that, like with other Bain acquisitions, there was no concern for the human consequences of trying to maximize revenue, although the strategies used with CRC and Aspen Division are not the same as used in factories when they acquire thousands.
And you're right. Our investigations found previously unreported allegations of abuse and neglect in at least 10 CRC residential drug and teen care facilities across the country, including 3 I visited undercover in Utah and California. With rare exceptions, such incidents have largely escaped notice because the programs are, thanks to lax state regulations, largely unaccountable. Art, can you stick around? I want to talk to you about your undercover investigations.
Absolutely.
All right, this is the Tom Hartman program, filling in for Tom all afternoon. I'm Carl Frisch, and we'll be back with more on this story.
This is the Tom Hartman program.
Up next, more about the dark side of a Bain success story.